Chelsea is left in tears after Billy's surprise attack, and Adam sees Kevin get into it with Chance. On today's episode of The Young and the Restless, Victoria comes up with a scheme. Victor invites Chance over despite Abby's warnings, and Billy makes a life-altering choice. When Victoria gets ready for work in the morning, she remembers Billy telling her that she can do anything because she is amazing. There's a knock at the door. It's Nikki bearing pastries and coffee. It pleases her to know that Victoria was able to get some shut-eye. Victoria talks about her excitement for the future as they sit down. The after Ashland era. The subject shifts to Nick and his predicament. After all, Victoria owes his life to him. Nikki is of the opinion that her daughter needs time to process Ashland's downward slide, but Victoria isn't interested in wallowing. In a word, free. The results have satisfied Nikki. Victoria says, "Last night, of all people, I had a drink with Billy." This has taken Nikki by surprise. Victoria is able to foresee the future and make plans accordingly. "Let's take a chance, Mama." Nick and Victor chatted up at the ranch. Nick assures his father that he is still going through the Ashland ordeal, despite Chance's decision to end the pro. "I caused someone's death." Nick explains why he is frustrated with Victor, who made a choice without consulting him or the others concerned. To paraphrase Victor, Locke killed himself. Nick is angry that he had to lie to the police due to his actions. Although it may be natural for his dad, he isn't at all at ease with it. He was just trying to be a decent dad, and now that some time has passed, he can see that. Victor says he did it all for Victoria and himself. Nick recalls that everything happened so rapidly that Victor just reacted on reflex. If it means keeping his kids safe, he'll do everything. Victoria came to the conclusion that she is more similar to Victor than anyone else. They discuss how shocked they were when Chance announced the case was closed and how careless Victor's security staff was, leading to their dismissal. Nick often thinks about when his dad will finally learn not to take risks. Kevin is curious about the DA's reaction when Chance turned over all of the evidence, so he asks about it as they walk through the park. When he finds out that Chance wasn't involved, he is taken aback. He reasoned that no reasonable suspicion existed. Kevin objects, assuming that Paul must have been responsible, but Chance cuts him off. "It was my decision, Kevin." Kevin, indignant, dismisses all the evidence they had gathered. "It was a horrible accident," Chance says grimly. Kevin is aware that he doesn't believe it, and he cautions that if the proof becomes public, it might have severe consequences for them both. A conversation between Billy and Lily at Chancellor Winters. He'd like to continue their discussion about how he can balance his podcasting with his career goals. "I suppose I know what I want to be when I grow up," he jokes. To Lily's knowledge, this is going nowhere. He is changing his direction. He has found someone to take over as host of the Grinning Souls podcast, and he plans to stop doing them in order to devote himself totally to his role as chief operating officer for the show. Lily is concerned that he is simply telling her this because he thinks it will make her happy. Billy admits that she plays a role in his decision, but he wants to be a man of his word and keep himself accountable. He vowed he wouldn't disappoint his mom. It has been brought to Lily's attention that he is complying with this request. Billy aspires to live an honest life. "I'll decide that." Lily worries that he will grow resentful of her in the future. Something felt like it was shifting between them, and Billy didn't like it. "The place I most wish to be at this time is here. This is my true home." Chelsea observes Adam lounging about at the rooftop bar and makes light of his carefree lifestyle. She wonders why he's so interested in Ashland's death, and he wonders whether there was more to it than just an accident. He talks about how he and the Newmans have grown apart until Chloe arrives. When they reunite, Adam wants them to be just as effective as they were before. After making this statement, he walks away. The two girls, Chelsea and Chloe, compliment each other and talk about the podcast. Chelsea gushes about Billy, implying that she could beat herself around him in a manner that she can't around Chloe. The other person can tell that it was the perfect solution for her. They sit down on the couches, where Chelsea resumes her gushing about her fantastic experience working with Billy. Chloe is aware of the factors that necessitated her temporary design break. "When Ray passed away, you're obviously going through a tough period. The respect and admiration he has for you now is well-deserved." Because Chelsea senses that something is awry, she immediately asks Chloe whether she is okay. She assumes there's bad blood between her and Sally, and then says that she should consider herself lucky to have her. But Chloe says it's all normal teenage angst. Billy appears and expresses a desire to temporarily abduct Chelsea. Chloe gets up to refill her glass. Chelsea begins talking excitedly about their upcoming podcast episode, but Billy cuts her off to say that he has to quit the show to focus on his regular work. It has left Chelsea speechless. Nick discusses Victor's risky bet over at the ranch. That was the last thing on Victor's mind. Nick is unhappy with how he always puts himself in danger. The safety of his loved ones is something Victor will always prioritize. Abby arrives, greets her dad with a kiss, and welcomes Nick home. Stress is something she can feel. They agree that Chance made the correct choice in ending the case. Nick promises eternal gratitude but claims he must depart for the office immediately. Victor tells Abby privately that he plans to thank Chance later. She thinks he shouldn't go through with it. Chance and Kevin argue in the park over who else could have found the evidence. Even when Chance says it's all good, Kevin says the truth always finds a way to surface. The best version of Kevin is now committed to appearing. Adam overhears Kevin fuming to Chance that if it weren't Victor, he'd be going all out to get a conviction. As he slams the door, Chance angrily declares, "I didn't do this for Victor." There will be others who accuse him of willfully ignoring reality because he reminds Chance that he is a member of the family. Chance decided it would be best not to subject his loved ones to the stress of facing any potential charges the DA might bring. Victoria might have been the genuine victim if the accident had become public knowledge. Kevin is in total agreement, but he thinks the DA should have made that decision instead of Chance. While visiting Victoria's home, Nikki learned about Victoria's future intentions for Newman Enterprises. Her mother warns her about the optics of forging ahead since Ashlyn apparently recently died in a horrible car accident. Victoria says she'll take care of everything and that nothing can stand in their way anymore. When Chelsea and Billy are at the rooftop bar, Chelsea suggests that Billy let her host the podcast, but Billy thinks this is a terrible idea. He's leaving behind something he plainly enjoys, and she has questions about it. Billy says it's hindering his ability to. As a final question, she adds real life. However, Chelsea argues that he has never been more genuine than when he is discussing controversial topics on the show. To her mind, things just won't be the same without him. The reason she decided to do this in the first place was because she finally found someone who gets her. Billy acknowledges the partnership's merits but feels obligated to fulfill his pledge to Chancellor Winters for a number of reasons. Chelsea, her eyes welling up with tears, doubts his haste to return to a world to which he has recently recognized he does not belong. Billy has to see it through. Chelsea expects him to come to terms with his error, at which point she will find 1,000 excuses to repeat, "I told you so." Without warning, Billy has to leave, leaving Chelsea devastated. Once Chloe catches up with her, she warns her, "Girl, do not go there." At the ranch, Abby bickers with Victor over wanting to thank Chance, who doesn't truly believe he did the right thing. When it comes to keeping your loved ones safe, Victor says there's no room for ambiguity. Kevin tells Chance in the park how unfair it is that Victor is let off the hook for his actions. Chance informs him with clenched teeth that it's over. Despite his excellent work, it is now time for him to move on. As Chance departs, Adam enters the scene. "Unfortunately, I was able to overhear their conversation. You've been put in a terrible position." When Billy gets back to Chancellor Winters, he tells Lily he had to tell Chelsea about his choice. As an aside, he took off his yin and yang necklace, which he had been saving for a special occasion. Much like them, it consists of separate parts coming together to form a single entity. A kiss follows after V places it on her. Nikki visits Victoria at her residence and recommends they watch the video presentation at Newman Towers. Victoria is excited to finally share the company's news with the public. She must give her all of her encouragement. Nikki believes it is prudent to head off any potential internal conflicts. A new era of Victoria's leadership at Newman Enterprises is about to begin, she says. Upon his arrival at the ranch, Chance is taken aback to find Abby already there. Victor says she asked him not to contact Chance. Abby gives her hubby a kiss goodbye and goes. Victor informs Chance that he wants to personally thank him for his assistance. As for thanks, Chance snaps, "I don't need or want your thanks." Kevin reassures Adam in the park that he's doing fine for the time being. Adam gently tells him that the Newmans are now Chance's permanent family. During Kevin's public humiliation, Victor will keep himself spotless. "If you're clever, you'll go out in front of this right now." Next on The Young and the Restless, Victor justifies his behavior, Nick is thrilled with his new position, and Adam finally manages to beat Kevin. Alluding to Jill, in the images below, remember the incredible life of Jill Foster Abbott. Please note that if you purchase something by clicking on a link within this story, we may gain a tiny portion of the sale. Did you miss today's show? Get caught up with Paramount Plus.